Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Young at Heart. Children's stories, nursery rhymes, poems, songs to keep us all young at heart. I have a very special segment for you today. I'm Father James DeLucio with the Paulist Fathers. I have two Mother Goose rhymes and an excerpt from Mary Poppins Comes Back by P.L. Travers. What do these selections have in common? They introduce us to some wonderful bird characters. We've had some poems about cats and dogs, and now it's time to attend to the birds. The first two are probably well known to you: Little Jenny Wren and Poor Robin. As little Jenny Wren was sitting by the shed, she waggled with her tail and nodded with her head. She waggled with her tail and nodded with her head as little Jenny Wren was sitting on the shed. Poor Robin. The north wind doth blow, and we shall have snow. And what will poor Robin do then, poor thing? He'll sit in a barn to keep himself warm, while hide his head under his wing, poor thing, while hide his head under his wing. Now we're going to meet two very smart birds, a sparrow and his fledgling, who come to the nursery window of the Banks home, and they find Mary Poppins rocking a cradle of the newborn Banks baby. This is the youngest in the Banks family. There's Jane and Michael, and there's twins, and now this newborn whose name is Annabelle. Mary Poppins has some powerful insights into the life of children, but more particularly, so does P.L. Travers, her author. Did you know that in the first week of our human life, we can commune fully with nature? We can communicate and talk with the animals and the sunlight and the wind? Well, Mary Poppins reveals that. And you'll find that it doesn't stay with us very long, only some. And I think you will also find why this has always been my very favorite part of the Mary Poppins books. Again, this is an excerpt from Mary Poppins Comes Back. It's from the chapter 5, titled The New One. A harsh voice shrilled from the window. The starling had returned to the sill, and beside him, wobbling uncertainly as he alighted, came a very young bird. Mary Poppins moved towards them threateningly. "Now you be off," she said angrily. "I'll have no sparrows littering up my nursery." But the starling, with the young one at his side, brushed haughtily past her. "Kindly remember, Mary Poppins," he said icily, "that all my families are properly brought up. Littering indeed." He alighted neatly on the edge of the cradle and steadied the fledgling beside him. The young bird stared about him with round, inquisitive eyes, and the starling hopped along to the pillow. Annabelle shook her head. "Where has she come from? From out of an egg?" cheeped the fledgling suddenly. Scoffed Mary Poppins. "Do you think she's a sparrow?" The starling gave her a pained and haughty look. "Well, what is she then? And where did she come from?" cried the fledgling shrilly, flapping his short wings and staring down at the baby in the cradle. "You tell him, Annabelle," the starling croaked. Annabelle moved her head inside the blanket. "I am earth and air and fire and water," she said softly. I come from the dark, where all things have their beginning. Ah, such dark, said the Starling softly, bending his head to his breast. Starling, not Sterling. It was dark in the egg, too, the fledgling cheeped. I come from the sea and its tides, Annabel went on. I come from the sky and its stars. I come from the sun and its brightness. Ah, so bright, the starling nodded. And I come from the forests of the earth. As if in a dream, Mary Poppins rocked the cradle to and fro, with a steady swinging movement. Yes, whispered the fledgling. Slowly I moved at first, said Annabel, always sleeping and dreaming. I remembered all I had been, and I thought of all I shall be. And when I had dreamed my dream, I awoke and came swiftly. She paused for a moment, her blue eyes full of memories. And then, prompted the fledgling, I heard the stars singing as I came, and I felt warm wings about me. I passed the beasts of the jungle, and I came through the dark, deep waters. It was a long journey. Annabel was silent. The fledgling stared at her with his bright, inquisitive eyes. Mary Poppins' hand lay quietly on the side of the cradle. She had stopped rocking. A long journey indeed, said the starling softly, lifting his head from his breast. And so soon to be forgotten. Annabel stirred under the quilt. No, she said confidently. I'll never forget. Stuff and nonsense, beaks and claws, of course you will. By the time the week's out, you won't remember a word of it. What you are, or where you came from. Inside her flannel petticoat, Annabel was kicking furiously. I will! How could I forget? Because they all do, jeered the starling harshly. Every silly human, except... He nodded his head at Mary Poppins. Her! She's different. She's the oddity. She's the misfit. You sparrer! Cried Mary Poppins, making a dart at him, but with a rude laugh. He swept his fledgling off the edge of the cradle and flew with him to the window-sill. Dipped you last, he said cheekily as he brushed by. I hope you enjoyed that. I was so eager to share that passage with you. May we hold on to the innocence of our childhood. Let us continue to cultivate a communion with nature. Let us be attentive that we are made of stardust, and it's all interconnected, everything in this universe of ours. We're a little part, but yet an important part. For God so loved us that he called us into relationship. And that's what the Bible is all about. To be attentive to every aspect of this creation, because we have something in common with everyone and everything, because of the God in whom we move and live and have our being. I hope that's a joyful and hopeful thought for you on this spring evening, this first week of Easter. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay healthy, keep safe, and God bless. Bye, everyone.